Tonight on Business Live, a busy week it's been for small and medium-sized businesses as Ghana hosted major African conferences on the Continental Free Trade and Trade Promotion Organizations. But what remains the existing threats to SME growth in Ghana and across Africa?
That we can trade among ourselves by reducing the costs and the times. If you don't have the adequate infrastructure along the roads, at the seaports, across the borders, how can you trade with other countries?
We are more from the perspective of the Borderless Alliance. Meanwhile, good news for Ghanaian tech entrepreneurs as major tech giants in the US eyes untapped industry with 2,000 available jobs.
We are moving from an MOU to a framework agreement with a major black company called Overland Turnberg, who are looking at coming to Ghana, establish a beachhead in Ghana for Africa, and they will actually even manufacture components for the technology space. They are also a facilitator and integrator for many of the big technology companies like Microsoft, Cisco, and others.
And businesses are warning of a possible collapse of the operations if the Bank of Ghana goes ahead to increase the policy rate once again.
Only way out, two ways. One is to transfer the cost to consumers. The second one is to sit down for your business to collapse, or you cut down your production level.
We have all these and more coming up shortly. To stay with us. Hello and welcome, I'm Charles Ayitey. Well, tonight has been a busy week of SMEs-related conferences in Ghana, with the highlight being the 13th World Trade Promotion Organizations Conference, where trade leaders from the International Trade Center and the Continental Free Trade Secretariat signed a private sector pact to aid SMEs become competitive and resilient under the single African market. But behind these initiatives exist stark impediments that scare Ghanaian entrepreneurs from expanding through the continent. I engaged the national president of Borderless Alliance, Ziad Hamoui, who shares some major concerns about doing business in Ghana and the rest of Africa.
Eventually, enhancing competitiveness of SMEs goes a long way in enhancing the production of the African countries and the local goods and services. But then you will also need to work on building the infrastructure that will allow them to trade across borders, across Africa and into the world, actually.
And speaking of infrastructure, do you think it's been laid down all the current existing challenges to the deficit of infrastructure?
I think the deficit is too wide. I think your team was covering last week's conference, the CILT Africa Forum 2022, right? And the infrastructure gap that is perceived in the next 10 years for Africa is 1.7 trillion. That's a huge infrastructure gap, and we have to start tackling that one in order to enhance the trade across our corridors and to ensure that we can trade among ourselves by reducing the costs and the times. If you don't have the adequate infrastructure along the roads, at the seaports, across the borders, how can you trade with other countries? So there is an infrastructure gap, and there needs to be a concerted effort towards developing the basic and adequate infrastructure that allows a competitive movement of goods, because trade and transport are inextricably linked. And if you enhance one, in order to boost intra-Africa trade, you need to boost intra-African transport. There's no way about going it.
What about, I want your thoughts on the common external tariffs, because we continue to have various business organizations, trade facilitators raise concern about the disparity when it comes to the common external tariffs across board.
So the ECOWAS common external tariff basically can be looked at from two perspectives. The first one is that the common external tariff was set in order to standardize import of goods originating from outside of ECOWAS into the ECOWAS region. So it is the ECOWAS attempt to say, look, you can import into the region, but we will be standardized. And we will all agree to implement a system of bands where some goods will be subject to differential rates of tariffs. And so based on the implementation of these, it will allow you to create a level playing field for all of the countries under this. Now, where it becomes tricky is when the lack of enforcement of the implementation of these laws, or worse, when the misimplementation of these regulations and rules and regulations, or the partial implementation of some of these rules and regulations.
Well, there's an appetite for Ghana's growing financial technology and automotive sectors as investors from the diaspora through the Ghana Investment Promotion Center are injecting over $200 million into these spaces this year. The CEO of GIPC, Yofi Grant, reveals that these investments are being channeled to young Ghanaian entrepreneurs and startups in the country, developing products and solutions in these ventures. He spoke to Joy Business at the dinner night of the 13th World Trade Promotion Organization's conference.
Almost every year, averagely, Ghanaians in the diaspora send home approximately $3 billion. Some even say if you add the informal bit, it might be $5 billion a year. That's more than we attract in FDI. That's more than we even go to the markets for in a year. So it's significant. So what we're trying to do was first to get them excited about the Ghana opportunity, which I always say is amazingly attractive, but also to see if we can build partnerships and linkages for trade. And we anticipated that would meet some mixed feelings. But what we saw was amazing. That suddenly we had a whole slew of people who were looking at the Ghana market. In fact, today, we are moving from an MOU to a framework agreement with a major black company called Overland Turnberg, who are looking at coming to Ghana, establish a beachhead in Ghana for Africa. And they will actually even manufacture components for the technology space. They are also a facilitator and integrator for many of the big technology companies like Microsoft, Cisco, and others. And so they want to bring that strength to Ghana, create opportunity. Quite recently, we've onboarded a company we've been talking to for 2 years, WebHelp. WebHelp is a BPO company. They specialize in BPOs. And so they are in Ghana today, they are actually setting up their first practice or first station, which I'm told will create about 500 jobs for graduates. And then they also have partners who are looking to come in and looking that in the next year they'll do at least 2,000 seats. So we are seeing some traction. It's not as fast. People always ask me, so how much FDI are you bringing in this year? It's not as simple as I go there and collect it and bring it. You get them interested and get them to bring the investment to Ghana. And I dare say that a lot of the work that we've done in the past few years will bear fruit. I mean, I'm seeing it happen.
Well, away from that, MTN has given the firm assurance that the current economic environment will not affect its investment into the country. The fear is that telecom giant may scale down its investment as a result of rising inflation and other tax measures. But visiting Group Executive Ralph Peter said that will not be Ghana's situation. George Ravi has the rest of the story.
Speaking at a media engagement in Accra as part of his working visit to Ghana, Mr. Mopita noted that they have taken this decision because of the role that Ghana plays in the group in terms of returns.
We want to have a sustained investment program so that in a market like Ghana, that every Ghanaian has the capacity to enjoy the benefits of a modern connected life. We're not changing that view. So if we are true to that vision, we must sustain the capex. Yes, there may be some margin pressure here and there, but we'll figure it out. We'll find more efficiencies. So we're not going to reduce the level of investment. Whatever investment commitments we've made, and we've made many commitments to stakeholders here, we are going to meet those to ensure that we build the digital infrastructure for the progress of Ghanaians, and to make sure that we align ourselves to nation-state programs like the Ghana Cares program.
On the e-levy and whether it could affect its profits and the business at large, the group chief executive of MTN was of the view that, for now, they see it as burden sharing to help government deal with the current challenges facing the economy.
We are going to continue investing in driving an expansion of the digital ecosystem to enable e-commerce, to enable payments, We'll have some short-term pressures on revenue, for sure. But you've got to look around the corner. You've got to look over the hill to say, what is the direction of travel? The direction of travel is, deepening payments, e-commerce, bank tech, insurtech. Those verticals are the future of what will sustain particularly small, medium enterprises who need very specific situations to make their businesses successful. And so, the e-levy, it's as I said, it's early days. If you ask me the question in 6 months' time, I'll have more data.
He also announced that they are working to increase the percentage of shares that Ghanaians can hold in MTN Ghana.
To your point around the IPO, we successfully IPO'd and had participation of about 12.5% in 2018, if I remember correctly. I think I was here for the IPO itself and the celebrations that go to it. But we've committed as the MTN Group to further localize and have more Ghanaians owning the shares of MTN Ghana, and that we want to get to at least 30. So the 30 is the target that we have committed to. I'm very pleased to say we've made progress. We're now at precisely 23.7%. So we've got another 6.7% of shares to localize. And the reason we want that is we want more and more Ghanaians to enjoy and participate in the economic success of Ghanaians, over time, because they are also the consumers. So that program of further localization remains intact, and all things going well, we are targeting to get to that 30%, no later than the end of the year. There are always market conditions that may affect us, but we are going to try and get to that 30% localization.
The recent regulatory reforms that has taken place in Ghana, Mr. Mopita noted that they are putting measures in place to lessen shocks on the business.
Well, the advent of e-levy has also attracted a surge in cyber fraud cases, with SMEs being the most target. Eric Kweku-Mensah is lead for financial crimes and anti-money laundering at the E-Crime Bureau. He says attempted cases continue to rise as subscribers are yet to have their heads around the technicalities of the tax handle regarding what can be deducted and what can be. Joining me to discuss actually is lead of cyber forensics at the E-Crime Bureau, Emmanuel Tete. Emmanuel, grateful for your time. First of all, break down what the Bureau suspects to be attempted cases of e-levy related mobile money fraud.
Thank you very much. This is Emmanuel from E-Crime Bureau. Thank you also for having me here. I would like also to say a very good evening to your viewers. All right, so thank you for that question.
Great.
Yeah. So what seems to be the breakdown of the suspected fraud is that, because this scheme is relatively new, it's an area where criminals will have much interest there. And some of the things that these criminals can do is to create maybe some fake information about assisting their unsuspecting victims to help them to maybe, let's say, reverse wrongful charges, which we know it is not the duty of anyone to do manually. The charging entities, the GRA, they have their systems in place to do that. Fraudsters can also make calls to their victims and try to swindle them. Everybody, there's a lot of outcry about this e-levy. So criminals can play on the emotions of people giving fake information on how to circumvent the whole system, which is another kind of fraudulent scheme that these attackers will try to use.
So from your perspective and from what the Bureau has been monitoring, how exposed are mobile money subscribers to these fraudsters?
The exposure here is very high because there are lots of voluminous transactions going on. I think my memory serves me right, I had about 1 trillion Ghana cedis of transactions so far this year. and it's increasing. So it's very high, the exposure. Also, these criminals can have easy access to phone numbers of users and subscribers. So it's easy to reach their targets, and by so doing, they can also easily put out these criminal messages that they want to use to scam their targets. So these are some of the things that I'll highlight.
That's quite worrying, and it begs the question on the extent to which Ghana's electronic mobile money ecospace is secured for use, because we're expecting layers of security to protect subscribers. But here we are, based on your assessment and your analysis, having to be told that most of these subscribers are exposed massively to these fraudsters. How secure is Ghana's e-money ecospace from the E-Crime Bureau's perspective?
Thank you. From our perspective, we would say that we monitor the awareness, sensitization going on, and I must say that it's growing and it's better. But what we can do further is individuals helping, let's say, their family members who are not really tech savvy to be able to protect themselves. We should make sure that
we'll come to the responsibilities of individual subscribers shortly. But I want you to speak to the national picture. When it comes to our electronic mobile money ecospace, is the platform that government has set much more secure from your technical perspective?
Yes, thank you. The security measures have been put in place. The controls that are supposed to prevent this have been put in place, but this is also a relatively young area as to electronic payments, electronic money transactions. It's very young, and there is still more room for improvement, because if you check, statistics says that there are about 38.9% of people of that is a Ghana's population that use mobile money. So security-wise, controls have been placed, but criminals are always finding newer ways to circumvent the whole system. So I would like to highlight this one here. Thank you.
Finally, for the benefit of our viewers watching, walk us through the step-by-step, processes by which we could secure ourselves from these online scammers.
All right. So in order to be able to prevent ourselves from being attacked by scammers, we should make sure that we take responsibility of taking care of our own security to help these systems that have already been put in place. So one of the things is that we should make sure that the pins that we use as users or customers to the telcos are nothing related to us. If I say that, I mean it shouldn't be your birth date, as the date of your spouse, your kids, or anything that can easily be guessed or easily be harvested or extracted from maybe the social media platforms that we have. We should also try as much as possible to avoid links that will be sent to us as users, telling us that they want to help us maybe reverse transactions, maybe illegal transactions that have been wrongly charged. We know the right places. If we have to report, we have to. Yes.
We are grateful, Emmanuel Tete, for your analysis and technical advice regarding e-levy fraud alerts. You're still watching Business Live. Businesses are warning of a possible collapse of the operations if the Bank of Ghana goes ahead to increase the policy rate once again. This follows a comment by the governor of the central bank that the necessary action will be taken to check the rising inflation rate as the Monetary Policy Committee wraps up its meeting today. The businesses argue that it will be counterproductive to hike the policy rate since the current inflation pressure pressures are supply-driven. My colleague George Ravi has been speaking to President of the Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Humphrey Eyim-Dake, as well as Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedu-Abuaje, on PM Express.
Do I get from you that
I wanted to address
policy rate?
No, the policy rate should be increased.
But the inflation is a bigger monster than the inflation is eroding that reserves you are.
But the governor did say he believed it is peaked. So if it is peaked, give it time to do the downside approach. But if it is not, then that will go contrary to the statement he's made. And as you indicate, if you look at the dynamics, you could still feel that the triggers and the causation of the inflation are still in there. One clear example is this shortage of fertilizer. And when do you procure fertilizer and put into the planting season, and then the planting season gives you the yield for the next season? Are you sure that you could tame that scarcity now? And it's a supply constraint. That's why I use the word, it's a cost push factor that is driving these issues. And he asked one more question, that did we anticipate this inflationary rate? We did in industry, and I was here once we did, and we engaged on this matter. And we did say this from the 2019 when we had a policy misalignment of this benchmark discount value. And we argued out until recently we have a partial restoration, which is still not full. It's underpinning part of the cost-related matters, and that also fuels into the various events that play out from the what we call the pandemic, the supply constraint by virtue of the pandemic. We saw the rating agencies' activity that affected the exchange rate just in the early aspect of the year, that drove the exchange rate down, the domestic revenue mobilization through the budget. We saw the struggle. All these things had some impact and driven this inflationary rates up. We anticipated it because it put the debt management position of the country in a precarious position. And therefore, the cyclical effect, we saw some indications that we will go into some difficult times.
The only way out is to begin to now transfer even majority of such costs to consumers. And that will, for me, will rather also push the inflation up. Because if you continue to absorb, as you say, we have been absorbing during the COVID time, and at this time it's at here.
It's down to the.
It's down to the. So what? Any other probably way of absorb? If you are not careful, you end up killing your. The only way out, two ways. One is to transfer the cost to consumers. The second one is to sit down for your business to collapse, or you cut down your production level. And that, for me, will have a strong negative effect on the economy.
And we'll see how the Bank of Ghana puts the policy rate on Monday. We'll bring you live updates on that. But let's now talk crabs, because they are noted to be nutritious, rich in vitamins, calcium, zinc, and many other minerals. With all these, just how much will it cost you to have them in your soup or stew? On today's episode of Joy Business Shopping List, Beverly Brom was at the La Market at the Camp.
Ni mino dry.
Dry, no they be no ni ko fresh.
So fa na nyenye ofiole.
Ado de na ni lo ne chinsen 5 cedi.
First nyenye hole.
First e wo hole 4 cedi.
Ni ene bibi we ho
2 cedi.
O fa ne woke
ene le 1 cedi.
Ene 1
le na kai no 1 cedi. Then it be a 2 cedi, be a 5 cedi. Be a come 3 cedi, be come 4 cedi.
Baba no talk me.
Ene can 4 cedi. Come mo control 20 cedi. Ne ke malege agbo ene le ACD
e come 8 cedi
first e won le 5 5 cedi. Keke mo ko buy 20 Ghana, male 3.
Okay, bibi.
Ene first year wo hon le. Wo ha 3 cedi, get 2 cedi. She be ane le wa fi wo ha. Ejo ene ken 5 cedi. Agbo ene ken ejo 20 Ghana.
Eu acabo contando 10 cedi. Enyo bale.
I'm going to 10 cedi male enyo. Mabu 20 Ghana. First year na ka wo hon le. First year wo ha for 20 Ghana.
To me ni na ke eneme fio.
Ko ba wo ngbe wonu.
Okay.
Ke mo mi floor. Esumo muchulu ni wa.
Ewa kem mi ya he ni nketeshani ina koma yuswe.
Oba ha le sugar cane ba full wo mi.
She aka fridge.
Koka wo fridge me ba gbo. She fite oba nyon ho.
But you'd have to spend more for your crops this weekend. That's how we end Business Life. For more news, please log on to myjournline.com. My name is Charles Ayitey. Many thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of our programs.